The Titanoboa, rumored to be the biggest snake to have ever existed on our planet. Could these giant snakes potentially be its descendants? Capturing a giant snake isn't easy, especially one that's 19 feet long and roughly 300 pounds. This video was uploaded by the YouTube channel DMAX UK, and it took roughly 5 people to get this gigantic reptile onto their boat. These guys went above and beyond in trying to capture her, diving in their regular clothes to try and ambush her, all for the sake of seeing how big she truly was. Definitely do not try this at home. They kept up the hunt until they found her again after losing her the first time, and they would explain that her strength and speed underwater was the most challenging to deal with. These professionals had a plan though, and once they were able to secure her head and keep her from striking, it was smooth sailing from there. It was very important to keep an eye on when she would coil up, often resulting in a charge up to get ready to lunge at whomever was trying to grab her. After getting what they came for in terms of measurements, they let her go. No reptiles were harmed in the making of that video. Seeing them in the wild is one thing, but what if you saw a giant snake next to your home? This video was uploaded by Ben Sojo on YouTube, and man is this thing long. I'm not entirely sure where in the world this is, but I definitely won't be visiting. Snake muscles are intense, and they use these muscles and their scales to move the way that they do. The belly scales help them with scaling walls and other surfaces that seem almost impossible to get up without questioning gravity. Another crazy thing is that they can alter friction with these belly scales depending on the surfaces they slither over. Like you see in the video, they move in an S-style formation to make it easier on themselves to propel forward and strike. I'm no snake expert, but it probably doesn't take too much energy going up a hill of grass, if it's not wet, in comparison to a muddy hill or something else. Hopefully, the cameraman isn't close enough to be noticed by that thing. This next video, uploaded by RozJ24B, caught a very fascinating video between a female and a male giant snake. I had to dig in the comments for this one because I couldn't tell if my eyes were playing tricks on me in the beginning, with the giant snake looking like 2 morphed snakes into one. But they were in fact mating in this video. The size between the two of them is insane, with the female clearly being much bigger of the two. We all know about the birds and the bees, but what about the snake? Some snakes flick their tongues a lot to sense their surroundings, but they also do this when they're trying to pick up female hormones. Once they find a potential mate, the male will court, and one of these include cutely rubbing their chins together. It's weird though because most snakes participate in parthenogenesis, meaning they don't need males to reproduce, but I guess sometimes everybody gets a little lonely. There was a study done where a female snake once held certain nutrients for up to 6 years before having a litter. How wild and cool. Some people can get a little too close to comfort with giant snakes, one of them being Jay from Jay Prehistoric Pets TV. This guy is insane, but I love him. This specific video that he's showing off is one with an expecting mother, hence why she is so big at the moment. Also, fun fact, not all snakes lay eggs. Boas, sea snakes, and most vipers actually do live births. Snake eggs come in an interesting shape as well, appearing more oval or oblong shaped than the regular chicken egg that we're used to. In the video, Jay explains that she will be incubating and hatching her eggs for roughly around 5 to 6 months. With this specific species of snake, how many eggs they choose to lay will be dependent on their size, and based on Big Mama here, we may be getting around 100 eggs if we're lucky. They usually won't make a nest either, and will instead find hidden burrows or abandoned homes from previous animals that can protect them from harsh environments. This giant snake was found trying to swim through a flood that happened in Thailand. Interesting things about this video as well, because the first thing we notice is how swollen its belly is, giving a clear indication that it probably just had a really good meal as of recently. Not all snakes are poisonous, but some will use venom to paralyze their prey, while others use the hug technique to help their meal go into a very deep sleep. Snakes do not chew their food, if that wasn't obvious enough with the movies we've seen, and instead go through a complex process of getting their food down. It's mainly muscles in their body that they use, with the help of their teeth as well to allow themselves to drive it down further. The muscles in their neck are the ones that slowly begin to pull it into its stomach, while the belly scales will crawl forward to help assist with this. They are super stretchy, allowing them to eat meals twice as large as they are. This giant snake was captured in the fields of Bolido, and although it's quite huge, it's actually an African rock python. What seems to be a simply tame video in the beginning gets a little scary when we see how fast this thing can actually move. Pythons are not to be messed with, because although their slithering speed is only 1.6 kilometers per hour, they can jump, strike, and latch on in 50 milliseconds. To put it in perspective, it takes humans 200 milliseconds to simply blink. So, for the cameraman to get up so close and personal as he did is astounding. You are playing with fate. Especially with the African rock python, they have been reported to eat antelope, or creatures even slightly bigger than that. They are, however, part of the non-venomous snake family, and are quite the huggers. Female pythons will also not leave their eggs during the incubation time, since they need to be kept at a specific heat at all times. They won't even eat. How they do this is that they will shake their muscles to generate the right temperature, and will only leave the area to go out into the sun and warm up their bodies even more. It's always the low quality videos that really get my heart pumping, because I can never clearly see what I'm looking at. This video was titled Titanoboa Real Amazon, but based on what we know of what the actual size of the Titanoboa was, it probably isn't this. We get a cool image of some giant snake next to the water's edge as the boat goes by and films it. But have you ever wondered why snakes swim underwater if they mainly hunt on land? Some pet owners have noticed this as well with their water bowls and will choose to sit inside of it. This is because snakes are cold-blooded animals and go through thermoregulation and rely solely on heat sources or cooling sources from their environment. Water is a great way for them to cool off if they're in an environment with too much sunlight, or they can choose to warm up if there's barely any sunlight. It also helps them digest their meals, with warm water aiding in raising their body temperatures to help settle their meals. Maintaining their temperature is super important to help their metabolism and immune system. They can also absorb water through their skin. Since they can't rely on hydration from food alone, and their metabolisms are too slow to only rely on drinking as well, they don't have sweat glands, and they don't pant when they get hot. So water is super important for their survival. A hydrated snake is a happy snake. We got a little taste into how snakes navigate. How about a clear visual example of how their body is moving? This clip is fascinating because, as I mentioned before, snakes rely on their belly scales to get around. Look at the underneath of the snake, how you can see its muscles push and move them across the road. Keep in mind, some snakes can weigh up to 150 pounds. That's 150 pounds of pure mass that they're pushing against the ground beneath them. The rhythmic pattern is almost similar to a centipede with how they move in that similar wave formation. The specific patterning on this snake also gives that really cool illusion of having hundreds of legs of its own. Could you imagine all that muscle wrapping itself around you? It's also fascinating that they're able to keep their heads so stable while they move. Very cool video of a very long, beefy boy. One small extra video to throw in there, but let's check out this crazy giant snake and human comparison. In comparison to me, the snake keeper is already naturally bigger than me, and the fact that this snake can take up literally half his size as it crawls upward onto his back to get inside of its closure is crazy. We were also mentioning before how strong those belly scales are, scientifically known as ventral scales, when it comes to grabbing on and creating more friction for vertical surfaces, and this is a really cool example of that. If I were to guess the circumference of its waist, it would probably be a good 30 inches around. That's thick. I can only imagine the types of larger prey it would go after to wrap itself around. Are you a snake lover? What's your favorite species of snake? Let me know, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay creepy out there.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. We found the craziest real-life mermaid sightings that you guys won't believe. Click the video now to see.